Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of Friends of the Squared Circle, where I am your host, Crander Q, aka my real name. Now, before we bring on today's guest, let's just get these sponsors out of the way, shall we? First off, being Darren Corbin. Yes, Darren Corbin is a sponsor of us here at Friends of the Squared Circle. You can follow Darren on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Yes, Darren Corbin is on TikTok. You can follow him at all those social medias at Darren Corbin. Another great way to sponsor your WrestlePalooza champion is at patreon.com/Darren Corbin, where tiers start out at just $1. Also, a huge shout out to Superior Creations, where you can get all of your custom tumbler needs. Need a gift for mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, or all of them? Check out Superior Creations on Facebook at Superior Creations MN. Artisan Tattoo out of 306 South Barstow Street in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Check out DJ. He's my tattoo artist. You can give them a like and follow, as well as go get a tattoo by checking them out on Facebook.com/Artisan Tattoo. And just like tattoos and wrestling, they are forever. And last but not least, a huge shout out to the boys at 13 Cards Subject to Change, who are so influential in what I'm doing here. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Leroy. And thank you, Zach.
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. Hopefully it's more fun than those ads that I just did because I totally butchered them. But that's okay. I can edit that later. So, all right. So now you and I have only met once in person.
Yep.
We do talk on the regular about wrestling.
Yep.
So this is going to be very interesting. Got to feel you out a little bit, find out what you love, what you hate. So before we get started, I want to do a little plug again for our sponsor, even though I said I wasn't going to, but we're going to do a little giveaway of a little Darren Corbin merchandise.
Nice.
So if you're listening to this out there, fans, I'm going to ask Nick what his favorite wrestler is, and I want you to post that in the comments when we release the YouTube video, and then I will pick someone just to see who's listening. So, Nick, off the top of your head, who is your favorite wrestler currently?
Well, my current favorite wrestler is a guy that's on your shirt and a guy that's on my shirt. And I know you're a big fan, so I brought out a vintage Dozer shirt. Let's see, I'll stand up here and show you a little bit. There we go.
That is beautiful. I am jealous. Beyond
there's probably less than 10 of these in existence, from what I'm aware. And the reason is the printer, and you can kind of see it if you look close, but the printer that made this shirt, I guess didn't mix the ink right, or there was some problem.
Gotcha.
So the batch of shirts that came out, like half of them were wrecked immediately. So I knew that going in. So I've only worn this shirt about 3 times. It's never been washed. It doesn't smell that bad. You think it would smell, but it doesn't smell that bad. But I brought it out only on special occasions, and today's a special occasion, so I busted it out. But Otis is the best thing going right now. He's my favorite wrestler.
And I have to say he is one of my top favorites. I am not obsessed. Zach, if you're listening, I am not obsessed. I am just collecting. And then with mine, I mean, mine's not that special. Everybody can buy one. But if you notice, in this one, he's got a beard.
Yep.
But the one on WWEshop.com, no sponsorship, but it'd be nice. He does not have a beard. That's the only shirt of his that I do not have. And now Nick has showed me another one that I do not have. So
yeah, this one's a rare one. I don't, like I said, there's not many of them out there.
I was gonna bust out the heavy machinery, the first shirt, but I was like, you know what? I got the red hat today. I'm gonna rock the red shirt. So we're both wearing red, and we're ready to rock. All right, let's get into this bad boy. Let's get her going. Let's go over your first memories in the wrestling here, Nick.
First memories of wrestling. Well, my mom, as growing up as a kid, my mom used to work nights. And as far as the wrestling part of it goes, it was a blessing for me because I would go over to my aunt and uncle's house, and they had three sons. My cousins were all big into wrestling. And so when I would go over there, it happened to be Monday nights. And I happened to grow up during the greatest era of wrestling of all time, the Attitude Era.
Okay.
And so I was in a really good spot because I had one cousin who was a huge WCW fan. And then I had the other cousin who was a huge WWF fan at the time. So there was always a fight over what was going to be on Monday night on which TV. So one of them would shoot upstairs and watch WWF on one TV while Nitro was on downstairs. And, I remember seeing the NWO, my first memories of like 98, 99 circa Nitro. NWO was the coolest thing in the world. Hollywood Hogan with the black and white beard and the whole aura between him and Nash and Hall. I just remember sitting there thinking as a kid, 8, 9 years old, like, these guys are the coolest thing I've ever seen in the world. My aunt was a huge Ric Flair fan, so she was watching solely just to hope and see Ric Flair come on the TV. She was a huge fan. So those are my first ever memories of wrestling and how I kind of got hooked and sucked in, because if you were a kid during that time and somebody you knew, had wrestling on, there was no way that you weren't going to get hooked, because as you know, the product was just red hot then, and there were just stars everywhere. It didn't matter which show you watched, whether it was WCW or WWF, or if you watched both. I mean, it was must-see TV at that time. So I was really lucky to grow up during that era, for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to have a new catchphrase. I'm getting goosebumps because, like, that's my childhood right there. NWO, yep. And I think 13 Cards Subject to Change just posted something along the lines of 26 years ago. That was the first sighting of NWO. And I remember Hulk as a kid, like, kind of briefly from the yellow and red, and then yep. NWO was just so cool. I had to have the shirt. I got him as an adult now as well, and it's probably one of my favorite factions of all time. And Kevin Nash throwing Rey Mysterio into that trailer like a lawn dart, I will never forget.
Me neither.
And yep. I don't like throwing around the F word here, as these non-wrestling fans would call it. But to me, I was like, he just killed that man. And when I met Nash, I brought it up, and I was like, man, thanks for making my childhood awesome. He's like, thanks for the money, kid. So.
That sounds like something he would say. That sounds about right.
So now when you're – go ahead. Sorry.
I had to get the shirt, too, and what I would do is I had 2 or 3 of the NWO shirts. I had a couple red and black. I had a couple white and black. And I would try to cut them to try to match how different guys would wear their shirts. So, Macho Man would cut the slits in the back.
Yep.
So I'd try to do that. And then, like, Hall would cut the big slits down the side.
Yep.
He had the big – so I tried to do that. All of them were fails, but I tried the best I could to try to get my shirt to look like their shirts. But, it was just a great time period. And NWO was, like you said, it's kind of a goosebump feeling, because there's just nothing I don't know if anything will ever replicate that era. I hope it does. I hope it gets back to that point. Mm-hmm. I think we're trending in the right direction. Wrestling is pretty hot right now, I would say, across the country. But just that time period was just amazing.
Yeah, definitely. The business is in an upward swing. Like last month was pretty toxic with injuries, Vince McMahon's thing. But definitely, I would love to see more of, because competition is good for everybody.
Yep.
They say that all the time. And right now I just feel like it's AEW versus WWE fans. Like, it's not the product going head to head. It's more the fans,
right?
In a toxic environment. And that's why I always say drama free, platform here, because, I'm not about getting into reviews and spoilers or, that stuff, because everyone has an opinion of their favorite taste of wrestling. Again, Attitude Era more, I don't think it's that great, other than the Austins, the Rocks, the Takers, HBK, and then on the WCW side it's the NWO, the Luchas, or Cruiserweights that kind of stand out, where if you go back and watch some of that stuff, I don't really want to, because I don't want to ruin those memories. There's some really sketchy stuff in there. Vince Russo, I mean,
oh yeah,
Mankind was great, and then he started doing these other things that just got kind of weird for me. Like, I love Foley, don't get me wrong, but as soon as we got to Dude Love, I was just like, what is happening? Mark Henry giving birth to a hand.
Yeah.
The inconsistent booking in WCW, it just kind of, I try to cut out the storyline sometimes, because in both companies, sometimes they suck, and I just try to watch the wrestling, and here's going to come my, obsession, as people call it. Anything Otis does is gold, because it's him. So
yeah.
Apparently we have a bell going off with it. So Looks like they're locking up here. Perfect.
Hey, you know what? For another month and a half, I don't have to hear those announcements and bells. I'm a teacher, so I totally get the bell thing. It was like, I'm missing something here. But thankfully, I got another month and a half before I got to go back.
Oh, I wish I got your vacation time there. We don't really work that hard, as you can see. I'm sitting in a room recording a little video here. So, and I did call that guy and tell him, "Hey, I'm recording today," and he still made the page. Anywho, good, all fun. So with your cousins now, did you guys do a lot of the backyard wrestling or the trampoline wrestling or pretend wrestling?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I had my own promotion back in the day. We called it OCW, Outdoor Championship Wrestling. We tried to come up with some sort of name that was different from everything else. And there was, it wasn't my cousins because they were older. They were high school age while I was still in grade school and in middle school. And then they went on and graduated. They were older. And so, I thought they were the coolest guys in the world too. So the fact that they liked wrestling meant it was cool, So, that was kind of like the green light too, for me to be like, okay, they like it. That means it's cool. But yeah, so back at home, once I got hooked on it, in the later years, I really had aspirations to try to do it, to try to be a pro wrestler someday. Now, unfortunately, not Mother Nature, but the way things went, I'm 5'6" and I was 150 pounds soaking wet back then. So it just really wasn't in the cards, especially at that time, because you needed to be a bigger guy to get noticed, to get recognized. So I went through the whole thing. I went online. And I was trying to find a place to get gear because there was, you couldn't just go to a store or something and buy wrestling gear. I mean, you had to know somebody that knew somebody that made wrestling gear. And so this was just like early stages of the internet and different things like that. So I was on, I don't even think it was Google then. It must've been like Ask Jeeves or Yahoo or something. And I was searching, how to get wrestling gear. And after, days of search, I finally came across this company out of Atlanta, which I assume, and I thought at the time, probably made a lot of stuff for the WCW guys because that was out of Atlanta. So I thought, well, this looks legit, And so they had, all this order form that you could fill out of what you wanted, colors, the whole 9 yards. So I always wanted the kick pads because I thought X-Pac's kick pads were the coolest thing ever. So I wanted kick pads, the knee pads, and then tights. I wanted to wear tights because I was never a trunk guy. I didn't like the trunks, even though Stone Cold Steve Austin was my favorite of all time. I didn't want to be a trunk guy. I wanted to be more like a Jericho type of guy with the different designs and patterns and stuff on his tights. So anyway, long story short, I fill this form out. I send it out. I send them like 4 or 5. I gather up all this money. I saved it up, sent this $400 or $500 money order, sent everything out, and never heard from them. Never got my gear. Called the phone number, called everything, and I don't know if it was a real company or not. They just took my money and ran, and I never saw any gear. So we set the camcorder up. Back then it was a VHS that you slid into the deal. You closed the window, and you had a big tripod, and we set that up in the backyard. And the biggest thing for me was entrance music. Everybody had their own entrance music, and I always tried to come up with different names for everybody that weren't copycat names, and they tried to come up with their own persona. And I was kind of like the promoter, and kids when they try to do this, nobody ever wants to lose, right?
Exactly.
They want to be the best, right? So nobody understood the psychology of, hey, in order to have a wrestling match, somebody's got to lose, right? Somebody's got to go over, and somebody's got to lose. So I would always do the honors, even though, I thought I was probably the most talented of the bunch. And I think they would probably agree, these guys that were doing it with me. But I always went over, I always did the favor for everybody. And so, there were some guys who never lost. And if they did get into a match with somebody else, it'd be like a time limit draw, or it would be a DQ or something. So, so nobody would lose. But yeah, we did the backyard wrestling thing. And it was a blast. And I still have some of those tapes around somewhere. I'd have to dig them out, but they're hilarious to go back and watch because it's so bad. I mean, it's terrible to watch, but it's fun. We had a lot of fun doing it. That's for sure. Did you ever do anything like that? Any backyard stuff?
Unfortunately, I just had younger cousins. I was like the teenager, mid-tween or whatever. And they were all like 3 and down, so I didn't have any cousins my age. And
Yep.
then on the other side, they were all adults. So basically, it was me in the middle, and
Okay. Yep.
only a few friends watched it, unfortunately. And I kind of discovered it by mistake in episode 1. A kid invited me over to play, action figures and video games, and that's kind of how I found it.
Yep.
And then I just kind of kept to myself with my own little wrestling federation of toys. Personally, we did do, as I got a little older, the trampoline stuff, but it was more just me and my buddy just out there wrestling, and didn't really have characters. I remember buying the cookie sheets from the dollar store, and we're on the trampoline, and he just co-cocks me with this cookie sheet, and his stepdad comes running out screaming, and he's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Look, it bends so easy. That's why we bought it." And he's like, "Well, knock that crap off." And, it's about the extent of what I did for wrestling. And normally, because I was the bigger of the two, I was usually the one that took all the moves. And,
Yep.
he could do the standing backflip on the trampoline. So, he was the Jeff Hardy, and I was just, Gorilla Monsoon or, Vader. Nothing flashy, just enough to get by. So.
Right. No, yeah. Anything that made a lot of noise or anything that would break. So like styrofoam inserts from cardboard, those are great because they made a noise and they cracked and they broke on somebody.
Oh, yeah.
It looked devastating, but it didn't do anything to anybody. The cookie sheets thing now. There was a rival promotion in town at the time that we didn't even know about. So we were in the east side of Superior, and in the Billings Park area of Superior, there was another promotion going on called CCW, which was Carnage Crew Wrestling, which was run by Mr. Otis. All right, and we didn't even know that we always talk about how we should have had a cross promotion event and how great that would have been. But the cookie sheets reminds me of that because he was notorious for beating guys senseless with the cookie sheets. There's footage out there. If the WWE ever gets a hold of it, they will put it on some video package someday. But there is footage of him destroying kids with cookie sheets.
That is amazing. I would love to see that.
Yep.
And that is a great name. What is it called again?
CCW it was called. Carnage Crew Wrestling.
Carnage Crew Wrestling. That's got a nice ring to it.
Yep.
Definitely. And then did you go to any events when you were a kid, or was it mostly just TV for you, or did you actually get to go see some shows?
Yeah, the first show that I ever went to was a WCW house show. I want to say 2000-ish, 2001, 2000-ish. And I was a big Buff Bagwell guy.
Okay.
He was my
that was left field. Okay. I had the action figure. That was about it. So
loved him. Loved everything about him. I thought he was his swagger, the strut. Obviously, he was a body guy. He was every bit a body guy that I would never be. You know what I mean. So I just emulated that. I thought he was the coolest thing ever. And so he wrestled that night, and I got to meet him later on. I guess that's another story.
Okay.
That's another story. But I went to the WCW house show, and I'll never forget the opening match was a cruiserweight title. It was Billy Kidman and Prince Ikea, and Billy Kidman did the Shooting Star Press that night. I'd never seen it before, and I just thought that was the coolest move ever. And I was a Kidman fan for life after that because I'd never seen anybody do something like that. I just thought it was the coolest thing. But I think back about the card, and it's like we were talking about earlier. This is a house show, and the card is just stacked with Hall of Fame guys. I mean, I was thinking about who was there. I know Sid Vicious fought Lex Luger for the heavyweight title. Buff, I think, wrestled Kurt Hennig. Kidman, Booker T was there. I mean, so it was just the card was just stacked. So, I mean, again, it was cool to finally see this in person, and it was just another way to hook me, And I was fortunate enough, to go to a couple other events, and I've been to a lot of events now. But that was the first event I went to, was that WCW house show in Duluth.
Yeah, we were just talking on the last episode. I believe it was about Prince Ikea, where I couldn't remember who he was, but he just looked like a tough little SOB, and I was just like, I'm going to watch that guy. And he just was never around much, so because the cruiserweights were constantly switching and moving around.
Yep.
And I mean,
And at that time, he had a valet, and his valet was actually Charmel, who ended up obviously being Booker T's wife. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, was she a Nitro girl too? I can't remember. I know a few of the guys married a few of them, like HBK, DDP.
She, you know what? Don't quote me, but she might have started out as a Nitro girl in the beginning. She
Okay.
very well could have.
And like you said, Hall of Famer, another one right there. So
Exactly. Yep.
all right. My first wrestling shows were more just, the backyard indies. I don't really remember anybody except for now I'm drawing a blank. Did the Claw, just was on a show there down there for MAW.
Baron Van Raschke.
There it is.
Yep.
He freaked me out as a kid. He put the thing on my head and I was like, nope, don't touch me. I'm good. And then the story is I opened the door for him, 30 years later and told him the story, and he got a good laugh out of that. So
Yep.
Yeah, my parents weren't really into it. My grandparents, grandma hated it. Grandpa let me watch in the spare bedroom. My uncle, he's still an avid fan, so he's always excited when I post a new picture. And anything now Otis does, he likes to send me a message. So
Sure.
I can't wait till he sees the puking video, and I'm sure I'll get a funny response from him like, what is this? It's great television. So,
Yep.
And then, he rented the first pay-per-view I ever saw was the Starrcade Hogan vs. Sting, so that's been covered a few times. But that's kind of my only, I guess, interaction with my family, really getting involved with it. I'm trying to get my nephew into it. He's kind of getting into that teenage, I want to skateboard, I want to talk to girls stage.
Yep.
There we go. We got another page.
Yep. Oh,
yes,
no.
we know you're locking the doors.
Yeah.
No one here, buddy.
Nobody's listening, but you're there. Maybe he knows you're there.
Yeah. I'm going to have to give him crap tomorrow at work and be like, you knew I was recording. You didn't have to make your page. So that was kind of just my, I guess, experience. It seems like you had a great childhood with it. And as I got, to where my nephew's age now, it was more football because Dad put me in football.
Yep.
I thought about posting a picture on the page of my wrestling days, but I was kind of, self-conscious about my body, so I didn't like wrestling because, I didn't have a shirt underneath. And it wasn't anything like I thought it was going to be when I first got there. Like every kid or every wrestler said in their book that it wasn't
what they saw on TV. Yeah.
What they saw on TV. So.
Yep.
And I dealt with a lot of bullies. That's for a whole nother topic. So that was another reason I just didn't get into it. Because unfortunately, when you're the little fat kid running around in middle school, high school days, you're an easy target. It's probably why I'm such a smart ass now. But
hey, you know what? Though, it maybe built a little character for you. Maybe made you.
Oh, definitely. You gotta win them over with charm, or you just give them a nice quick zinger, and it's just like, where did that come from?
Exactly.
Yep. I was prepared for it. So.
Yep.
Is there anything that you loved more or that you hate now? Your love-hate with it now today, or are you just as passionate about it?
Well, it's funny because there's a lot of things I love about professional wrestling, and there's a lot of things that I see that I just go, oh, what is that? What are you doing? So it's basically anything that suspends my belief in what I'm watching, anything that insults my intelligence, I hate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to think. Like, here's a good example. Guy Irish whips him into the corner. He goes into the corner. He sits there forever. The guy panders to the crowd. He gets up on the second rope and he punches him 10 times. Okay. And the crowd counts with him. 1, 2, 3, right? The guy just sits there and looks at him and lets him punch him 10 times. Okay. And then once he gets down, the crowd, he gets the big pop on the 10th one. Boom, down he comes. And there's no mark. There's no bruising. There's no blood. If somebody stood there and punched you 10 times repeatedly in the head, and the guy doesn't try to block it, he doesn't try to get you off of him, he doesn't do anything. This is a fight, right?
Yep.
That one, there's one. I can't stand the 10 count in the corner. The one that's really gotten out of hand in more recent years is, you got the suicide dive or the tope suicida, and you got 3 or 4 guys on the outside, and they're down there way too long, so they don't know what to do. So they stand there and they hug each other.
Yeah.
They hug each other for 30 seconds until the guy jumps, and then they turn and catch him.
Yep.
I can't stand that. I mean, it just looks so terrible. I mean, you're taking me out of the moment. I love to just, and like with most wrestling fans and most people who watch any form of entertainment, I think, it takes you out of the moment that you're in, your everyday life, maybe the stresses you're going through, whatever the case may be. I'm watching this for 2 hours. This is what I decided to watch. And when it kind of clicked, that light bulb clicks in your head and you go, what, really? That those moments are what I can't stand. The other one is, I'm not going to name him by name, but the guy that does this whole thing, punches the ground and then punches somebody in the head, because when he charges up, it's a much harder punch than somebody else could ever throw normally.
Mm-hmm.
Corny. It's you know what I mean? It's just those types of things that take me out of the moment are the things I don't like. But I think bar away, I mean, I love professional wrestling with all my heart. I mean, I love the athleticism of it, the sport, the contest, the titles, the gold and the jewelry on the titles and the whole spectacle of it. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, it's hard not to like, I think, in my opinion, it's hard not to like professional wrestling if you can get past the part of, yes, the outcomes are predetermined. Okay, we know that, but let's get past that. If you take a person and I've done this a couple times, where you bring somebody with you to an event, take them to a Raw, SmackDown, even a house show, whatever the case may be. They're not really even big fans. They don't really like wrestling or watch it that much, but you take somebody there who's open-minded, they're going to walk away from that and they're going to say, wow, that was a great time. I mean, the spectacle of the event and everything that surrounds professional wrestling is just great. I mean, there's no denying it. It's one of the greatest things in the world. So, yeah,
the thing that kind of like bugs me, I think the most is, the "this is awesome" chant, the constant cheering for, I'm not a big Punk fan. I make that known. The constant cheering for him when he was gone. It's like, he's gone. Like, just stop, because you think you're hijacking the show in a sense, but then you're just being, a jerk. Same with when the women are out there, you got people catcalling inappropriate things. I love women as much as the next guy, but do it in a respectable way. I'm sure there's another way you can go and tell a woman, a compliment without saying, I like your blunt,
Right. Yep.
I don't have that. And that's one thing I hate is there's on Instagram full of those special shots where they're, doing a move, but they zoom in on that. And it's just you're a pig.
Yep.
There's time and place for it. I do like when, they do the one fall thing, because it always cracks me up, but the "you are awesome" or "this is awesome" chant just overplayed, just like the super kick now,
Yep. You still got it.
Yep. I think with you and I too, we see it from a different angle now, because it is something that we truly enjoy. And, I play fantasy booker in my head. I'm sure, you do the same, this is the way they did this, and if I was a writer for this, but at the same time, again, back to what I said earlier is, I try to drown the noise out and just watch the match, especially when you go on an independent show. There's not really a lot of build up unless it's promotion that's constantly running the storyline, where otherwise you're getting, promotion D, where it's new champion every show, same 7 to 8 guys. And, that's kind of what bugs me with the wrestling, I guess, today. But I mean, I still get sucked in at times, which I love. But like you said in the corner chants, you can't just get out of that.
Right.
And I think a lot of it has to do with camera too. Everybody's got a thing they got to do in their part to make that whole package. I know Jesse always complains about the camera cuts, but everybody has an off day. So.
Yep.
And the other thing, I don't know if you watched the last episode where I talked, is have a little pride in your craft. Don't be out there with dirty boots, or, well, not necessarily dirty boots, but your gear's dirty, or, you're supposed to be rich and famous and you're coming out with holes in your tights. And it's if you want me to believe or invest in who you are, give me a little bit more than what you're doing.
You got to live the gimmick.
Go back to the Home Depot
live
boxer.
The gimmick, brother. You got to live the gimmick. I mean, if you're an aristocrat from Connecticut, like you said, and you show up and your knee pads have holes in them,
Yeah, I'm not going to believe for 2 seconds,
Yeah.
or there was, I believe, I mean, again, I don't like to throw shade. I'm just using their examples. You're the high rollers and you're coming out with fake money, and it's like, okay, I
Yeah.
get this is for the kids, but you're
Yep.
not selling anything to me here, and I'm not buying it. So,
That's right. Yep.
yeah, and I always, like I said, the Home Depot thing, that's one thing that sticks out to me ever since I saw it, like 2 years ago or whenever I saw it. And I get those battle royals or get the young guys out there, get them a little exposure to kind of sink or swim, but I don't want to see the dude pulling up his pants every 5 seconds,
Yep.
And then, another thing that bugs me is you got tag team wrestling, okay? Alpha Academy, Prime, same gear. They got a shtick, little guy who talks, big guy who backs it up.
Yep.
And then you're on the indies. I get you can only get what you get, but try to have some thought behind it. Don't give me the guy that's doing the crazy psycho gimmick with a judge.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And we've all seen that. We've all seen
Yep.
that where it's just head
Yep.
scratching. Like, what?
Yep.
I don't understand this. Yeah.
Now in
Yeah.
WWE, when they do it with like Cesaro and Sheamus, they were leading to that story or that arc because that's kind of what was going in place. And I love the Bar. I thought that every pay-per-view they're on, I love Sheamus.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great. Like, this was a great creation. I'm sure they thought about it in the back and said, well, you're not doing anything, let's get it over. And it worked. Whereas like on an indie show, I'm not going to believe that the bad judge and the schizophrenic / horror guy are on the same page here because
Right.
And I get it. You can only afford certain people, but then don't put them in a tag match. Put them in a fatal 4-way. He can still be the heel and yada yada. But
Yep.
that's where I like to think I'm a smart booker. But
Well, and it's easy for you and I to. I mean, on the flip side of this, it's easy for you and I to say these things, but especially when you're talking about a bigger promotion like WWE or AEW, and we're sitting here thinking, well, that didn't make sense, or why was that story left open ended, or there's oftentimes, I would assume most times, a reason why things happen the way they do. And we're not privy to a lot of the information, but for most fans, I think there are times where these promotions can do a better job of following through on certain storylines or things that are going on. I mean, we could probably sit here and name 5, 6, 7 storylines that went nowhere. There was no ending. There was no, finale to what we witnessed, and everybody's still wondering what happened. So
yeah, what comes to mind mostly is like The Rock when he destroyed the Wyatt family. I mean, They could easily just let those 4 guys beat him down, and then they would have had the story for next week. And he didn't have to continue to get involved. It'd just been, we took down The Rock.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
There's your clout.
Yep.
And you don't even need The Rock anymore.
Yep, prime example. Yep.
And the other thing I mentioned on the last episode is, if you are a promoter, remember that these people, livelihood is in your, hands, and, you want to have this crazy ass ladder match or this falls count anywhere when you're in a high school gym, or this super hardcore match where they go in the parking lot, and it's just like,
right,
you're at an independent show. Like, I went to one and they spilled out of the parking lot, and the 12 to 15 people that were there, no joke, were just standing there like, what do we do? And a few people went outside. And then I think the wrestlers realized no one followed them out, so then they came back in, and it was just, and it's in their name, their promotion name, for some of the stuff they do, but it's just like, you're paying these guys under $500 to put their body on the line, and I just feel like, no, don't do it.
Yep.
And I get it. Some people say take a booking where you can get it. But then those are the promotions I feel like you shouldn't work at,
Yep, exactly.
So, but all right. Well, we can move on from your memories here. We can get into these questions here. All righty.
Awesome.
So we're going to start out with the most obvious. Favorite big man, which you've already probably mentioned. Favorite big man in the wrestling world.
Well, right now it's Otis. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's not a lot going on right now that makes me want to tune in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unfortunately, and granted, I'm older now. I'm in my 30s. You know, I got a lot going on. I've got kids. I got job. You know, we're busy. Lives are busy. But there's very few things that make me tune in. And obviously I have the connection with Otis and everything. And so I want to check in on him and see what he's doing. But to me, you know, his 2021 year was unbelievable.
Yes.
You know, in 2020. I mean, his run that he had was some of the most entertaining stuff, bar none. And I think, you know, most wrestling fans would agree, whether they know him or not, or just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, from what went on. So I love checking in and seeing what he's doing. You know, I'm a huge Rusev guy. I mean, he's Miro now in AEW. I always told Otis that you know, he's got the kind of close descent, you know, families are from the same area, parts of the world. So I said, he took your shtick when he was Rusev. That could have been your gimmick. But anyway, I like Rusev. I like what Wardlow's doing in AEW. Okay. You know, I do enjoy the old school, big muscle bound guys. I like it because it's psychology based stuff. He's huge. He can probably kick that guy's butt. You know what I mean? Yep. And so let's see it. Let's see him do it. You know, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, Otis is my number one guy. No pun intended.
Now, for people that don't know, now you went to high school with or just crossed paths with him now?
Okay.
Let's dive into that because that's the main reason, you know, obviously we talk a lot and this is a reason why you're here is because I want to know more because, you know, I know you have that connection. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we did go to school together and we played football together. I was 2 years older than him in school. But even as a sophomore, you know, he was just this big, burly, strong as an ox kid that everybody heard about because when he was in middle school, he was breaking all the records in the middle school, you know, that go back 100 years in Superior, you know, bench records and squat records. And I'm pretty sure he still has the squat record at Superior High School. I'm pretty sure he still has it. Obviously, he was a phenomenal high school wrestler. You know, state champion, the whole 9 yards. He was unbelievable. But our connection was wrestling because not only did we play football together, but, you know, I don't think normally he and I would have crossed paths. I don't think, you know, just the crews we hung out with and the fact that I was a little older, we probably would have been more of just, you know, teammates on the team, but the connection was wrestling. And so we had a mutual friend, Cole Shore, a mutual friend that was a wrestler and a football player, and he happened to live a block away from me. So he was in my wrestling promotion. We call him Cole the Boar Shore, as it rhymed with his last name. And he had kind of the rhino gimmick where he'd spear you, and that was the boar. Okay. Anyway, so that was the connection. And so he would tell Otis, hey, my buddy Nick is a huge wrestling fan, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, we would start talking and stuff like that when we'd see each other in school. And then, you know, I'd get an invite over to his house. Come on over and let's watch, you know, the pay-per-view that's on and stuff like that. So that's how we connected. And then I think it was more along the lines of once we hung out a little bit and we started talking wrestling, we realized that we had a lot more in common than we thought we would have. And we just really bonded over wrestling. So then it would be, you know, late night overnights and stuff like that at his house where the new 2K you know, the new WWE game would come out. We'd create the characters and we'd go, you know, tag teams and Royal Rumbles and all that stuff and play and drink soda and eat Doritos all night and the whole gamer thing. You know, and then anytime there was a Mania on, you know, we'd try to figure out and get together and watch Mania together. And but you know, the one thing about him, his dream was always to be a wrestler. I mean, he was born to do that. That was what he wanted to do his whole life. In fact, his grandmother was a professional wrestler too. Yep. So he's got the genes for it as well. But you know, he comes from a hardworking family. Is I don't know if you know his old man or not, but
I've heard stories. I believe I've helped him 100 times when I worked across the street.
Okay.
At Walmart there, and then his mom would always be coming in too. So sure, I've seen them. I don't know them personally.
Okay. Yeah, his dad is a man's man. He's a workaholic. I mean, he provided for that family. I was at his house numbers of times where this guy was working around the clock. He would get home in the morning from work and fall asleep eating breakfast. I mean, that's how much this guy, was just an amazing worker and worked his butt off his whole life. So Otis really got a lot of that from his dad. I think that work ethic that he has, because I've never seen somebody work as hard at anything as Otis has done to try to get to where he was. But really, there was never a doubt in my mind. My whole life, I knew that he was going to get to the WWE someday. That was his goal. I knew he was going to get there because he was just that driven. The personality, he's got the personality for it, the charisma.
Definitely.
And he just literally, I believe that he was born to be a professional wrestler. There's nothing else that guy should be doing. So,
and you guys graduated what year?
I'm an 08 grad. I believe he's a 10. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, because I moved up here to Superior in 2008, and my first memory of him is I remember I used to do asset protection at Walmart.
Yep.
Catch the bad guy stealing.
Yep.
And he's walking through just eating, and I remember. We'll do a little side by here. My buddy Rick, his dad's second cousin is Bob Backlund. So
really,
little wrestling. That's my closest celebrity friend.
Cool.
Anywho, but yeah, and he's like, "Hey, you see that kid right there?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's so and so. He just won the state wrestling champion." Blah blah. I'm like,
yep.
Okay, like I got friends back home that wrestled in state. Like, no big deal.
Yep.
Don't care.
Yep.
And then there was the Duluth SmackDown show I went to, and again, my buddy Rick's like, "Hey, did you see so and so?" I'm like, "Don't care, bro. Like, just some high school kid." Now look at me buying every dang thing he puts out. But now only a few people know this, and this is another reason I'm excited you're here, because I have to tell you.
Okay.
So if you ever talk to him, I hope you extend my warmest apologies.
Okay.
And that I'm the biggest idiot in the world. I accidentally crashed his mom's birthday. I had found out he was in town.
Okay.
Was not thinking. I told you about the case that I have, the Money in the Bank case.
Yeah.
And I brought it in like, hey, he's in here drinking, eating. Little did I know it was his mom's birthday.
Okay.
My buddy still gives me crap. It's been about a year, 2 years. I'm not sure on the timeline because it still haunts me to this day. Where, I'm a huge fan, and I let the fan get the better of me, and I know better not to bug them when they're in public, but I'm just like, hey, he's getting big. It's probably the only shot I got. Well, let's just say I blew that shot. He was so cordial, though, super nice about it. Just said, hey, man, it's my mom's birthday. I was like, oh, my God, I'm an idiot. I need to leave. And he's like, no, we'll do a picture. That's fine. I'm like, no. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. And I tucked my tail in between my legs, walked my happy ass out of there with my briefcase. And today, still to this day, my buddy Randy, every time we go to Aces, he's like, so, was this the spot you tried to get your briefcase signed? So it's a great memory, but I feel like a complete tool. So again, if you ever talk to him, just be like, hey, the dude that brought the briefcase, I know him. He's sorry.
I'll have to do that. And I get it. It's a struggle, right? I mean, the fan in you comes out. There's been times over the years where I've met a few guys, and it's like inside you're going, oh my God. But you gotta, you gotta just be cool and be normal and just speak to them like they're a human being.
Oh, yeah.
Because my experiences, I've had I guess I've been blessed to meet a lot of these guys who I watch on TV, and it's the coolest thing ever to be able to meet them and hang out with them and stuff. But it just, if you treat them like a human being, like they're just a normal Joe, that's what they are, and they'll treat you the same way. Yep.
And the nice thing is, I knew I was in the wrong as soon as he said it, and I was like, oh, Cal, But, with life, you make mistakes, but at least, he, like, again, can't say how nice the guy was. I did bump into him when he was in his NXT days.
Okay.
And I got a picture with him. That was before, he started to make the traction that he had. And I believe he was in the Christmas shopping when I bumped into him. But I do remember when they came out with that little special on Netflix, Proving Ground, I think it was called. I have to double check.
Yep.
And it just pans, and there he is. And I was like, wait a minute. And I go back, and I'm like, I know that face. And then when he said his name, I was like, holy cow. And I send a screenshot to my buddy Rick because, he's got connections to the school as well.
Right.
Because his daughter was in the school still at that time, I think. And I'm just like, holy cow. And then they kept calling him cream cheese through the whole thing. And I was like,
yep.
What the hell is happening? But, and then he does bust out the worm. And I was like, this kid's going to be something special. And now fast forward to when he did the Mania thing. I was really hoping the Mania that I went to that he would be on. He was just on the stage, but I'm so happy for him. Local boy.
Absolutely.
I buy everything that comes out. I've sent you everything that I get. I send it to everybody, and they're like, cool. And I'm just like, you'll never believe what I got in the mail today. Like the worm card. No one has the worm card that I know in my friend circle that also buys this stuff. So I kind of feel like a big deal. And if you guys are listening, I'm kind of a jerk, and I don't tell you about that stuff until I buy it, so that way I can secure it first.
That's right. So. That's right.
But some of my favorite big men is Mark Henry, another great guy. That would have been if him and Mark were in the same, few years there. That would have been, I think, either a tag team or a stable, just two big muscle guys.
Absolutely, yeah, yep.
I know it doesn't go with the form of having a talker and a muscle, but. I loved Vader as a kid. Almost got the chance to meet him. Unfortunately, that show got canceled. And sidebar is my brother, when I had the action figure, ripped the head off, made me cry. Yes, I cried. And no joke, I was going to tell Vader this story and then have him make a video yelling at my brother.
Yep.
And then after he died, I was up at the mall Christmas shopping. And they had a bin of action figures in there, $3 a piece. And I looked in, and there was that same action figure with the head missing.
Get out of here.
And I almost bought it because it was such a memory. So eventually I'll buy that action figure and just take the head off or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's just a horrible memory, and it's funny now. And then I was a huge Giant fan because I was a WCW kid.
Yep.
And then Yokozuna, Kane, and Taker, just to kind of speed this along since we – not that I mind talking about Otis, but, just to get back on task here. And another one that kind of stood out was Bam Bam Bigelow from the video game. He had the flames and then the flames on his tights. So,
yep.
But when it comes to the best, you also got to talk about the worst, Giant Gonzalez, the Yeti, almost. He's just one guy I feel like they need to put back down in NXT after his little run. Get him a little bit more. And then Kurgan, I don't know if you remember that.
I remember Kurgan, yep.
It's great in the movies. He looks intimidating as hell.
Yep. Just didn't
My only reason I put Kali there is because I just feel like, a lot of people told me that's his later runs with his knee surgery and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought he was kind of funny with that.
Hard time moving. Yeah.
And that's the only reason I put him down there. From what I've heard from Katie Forbes, RVD's wife, or girlfriend, I'm not sure where they are in their relationship, that he's a great guy. Everybody's always spoke highly of him, besides the Big Show, that little locker room scuffle. But and then I put Braun down there because I feel like without WWE behind him, Braun is struggling. So I kind of feel like the Bret Hart
he's got
thing.
that promotion going on. I haven't heard a whole lot about what's going on there. I know he and EC3 started that, and I'm not sure. I haven't heard the latest
been getting some shady reviews, and then he was supposed to go wrestle for Authors of Pain, so now he's in another Twitter feud, kind of given, in my opinion, the Bret Hart feel where he doesn't have the WWE behind him to make him his character stand out.
Sure. Yep.
He's obviously playing softball a lot. He's hitting dingers. Into the wrestling business, is there any other jobs that you would like to do, and what are some of the jobs you do for that promotion? And you can name drop it. That's fine.
Okay, great. Well, it's like I said, I kind of mentioned earlier, I always wanted to be a pro wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, 5'6", 150, maybe closer to 180 now, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't going to happen. So, but I always thought everybody's always told me, I've got the gift of gab or whatever you want to say. I always thought being a manager would be cool. You know what I mean? I mean, I think I'm a guy who could maybe go out there every once in a while and take a bump or two, be all right. I think I would survive a bump or two here or there, depending on what it is. And then, but I think I could probably go out there with a microphone and get a little heat and that kind of thing. I think I'd enjoy doing that for sure. But yeah, like you mentioned, I'm the head commentary, the lead broadcaster for DPW, Discover Pro Wrestling right now. And I've been just blessed to have that opportunity because I've always wanted to be a part of pro wrestling in some way, shape, or form. My career path kind of didn't really take me down that road. And I'm a teacher. I'm a football coach, a golf coach. I love working with kids, enjoy work with kids and coaching and different things like that. But yeah, this announcing thing, the commentating thing has always been something I've always wanted to do too. And, I have a little background in podcasting too. I mean, you and I have talked a little bit about when you were getting the show going and help that you might have needed. I was happy to help you out with things. And I know it's one of those things where it's very little reward from the outside. It's fulfilling to do, but there's just not, it's hard. It's time consuming, and you really have to be passionate about the topic, which is this is just an awesome platform. I'm so happy to be here, but it's a hard thing to do. And people who have never done it and never tried to do podcasting or have their own show, don't really get it. There's a lot of work to it. So I commend you for what you're doing. I think it's great. It's a great promotion for not only wrestling in general, but local stuff. Cause I know how big of a fan you are of indie wrestling. And
definitely.
So I think it's a great thing. And just the ability to have, like your buddies that you've had on so far and just give people an opportunity to share why they love pro wrestling. I think it's great. So
yeah, and that's what this is about. It's like I said, I can have the wrestlers on and my friends are like, and if I do bring them on, it's not about the wrestling that they've put out there. It's about, the childhood. What got you here? How did you get to that point? Because again, those are the podcasts that everybody is putting out there. I'm trying to be different. And this is slowly evolving. Obviously, we're going to have hiccups in this. I haven't learned to fully edit everything yet. I'm just slowly getting my stuff out there. And I'll still post it because mistakes happen, And new things will happen. New people will be brought on. But, this is just my way of expressing what I love about pro wrestling. And, again, I just want to hear somebody else's side of the story. How many times have you heard a Ric Flair podcast? I can probably think of 4 or 5 on different avenues, and it's the same story. And I want my friends to come in here and tell me what they love, what they collect. That way they can feel like, they're part of the show too. And it's been a blessing with you doing a lot of the talking, because sometimes I feel like I have to do all the talking. And it's like Amy would say, this puts my talking to good use. So
that's right.
Yeah. And just like, with wrestling or anything else, this brought you and I together because, again, we've only met in person once. We talked for a brief moment at that show, I think. And then you had to go your way and I was busy doing another thing and then trying to stay out of the spotlight, to say, without causing commotion there that day. But it is, and that's what brings people together, is wrestling, and that's why I love it. I have a great network. I'm continuing to build it, building a platform with you, and who knows what the future holds for this relationship. But lastly, so we can get you out of here, I know you got some things to do, and I got to set up, for another batch of these. But it's my favorite segment. It's actually more fun for me instead of talking about Otis, which I'll probably get some hate because everybody knows I love Otis. But it's called Show Me the Collectibles. Now let's show those beautiful collectibles or a collectible that you brought.
All right. Well,
I know you got the awesome T-shirt on, so
I got the T-shirt. This was tough for me because I've got a lot. You kind of see the Forward Mile logos here in the background. One of my other gig, when you're a teacher, sad story, but we don't make a lot of money. I hate to break it.
You should make more. You should definitely make more. I agree with you there.
If you want to be, better be passionate about it, because money
exactly.
is not good. I hate to break it. So, like many teachers, I have a side gig that I do a lot of things in the summer, but all year round too. We did have a booth at that last DPW show too. A lot of folks visited us there and got some things. So anyway, I own a small autograph company, sports memorabilia business. And so I've really, in the last 2 or 3 years or so, really gotten into the wrestling side of it because it was more so football, basketball, hockey, the sports that people were collecting. But wrestling collectibles, the market when COVID hit, really shot up. Collectibles in general, everybody was getting the free money, so they were buying, they were collecting, and so the market's still good. But anyway, so I've turned into a huge 8x10 collector, and I've got binders full. I'm probably nearing 1,000 8x10s that are in my
nice.
I've got too many, but I pulled out a couple good ones. In my opinion, 2 of the 4 on the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. And so I'm really happy with these. I'm working on my man cave. You can kind of see some of it behind me.
I'm jealous.
The Otis Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I can see his legs there. Yep.
That's up there. And then I've got some other stuff on the wall over here, but it's a work in progress down here. But anyway, so the first one I'll show you is a personalized Ric Flair.
There you go.
Okay.
Now he's going to be at a show coming here in October. I don't know if you heard about that one yet.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay, I will send you that information today.
Okay, yeah, do that. Yeah, I'd love to.
I try not to blow your phone up too much like everybody else because, again, like I said, we've only met one time and stuff, but, we're building that bridge, so.
Any event that's coming, let me know for sure.
Yep.
And then, again.
Oh, that's beautiful. Got to plug the beautiful tumbler there.
He's the guy that, once the WWF at the time purchased WCW, he was my guy. He was my guy. He reminded me a lot of my dad, my old man. If my old man was, it would be him.
Okay, gotcha.
Man's man, no BS, foul language, the whole 9 yards, beer drinker. That's my dad. So
does he say what a lot? What?
You know what? Hearing's getting worse. So he does. Yeah, he does.
That's great.
What you know what? I got one other cool thing behind me on the shelf here that you might think is cool. I've got an apple that is signed by Carlito.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
So that's definitely great. That reminds me kind of what Bob does. He's always bringing some item that is related to that said wrestler. He's got steel chairs, probably enough that he could sit a whole family of 40. I don't know if I've ever showed you the $1 million chair that he made for $1 Million Man.
I think I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because literally after they took a picture, he's like, wait, hold on. And he has the guy working for him. He took out his own personal phone and took a picture with Bob in that chair. So everybody was jealous of Bob that day. So because everybody brings the $1 million belt, Bob made it into a chair and got over with the $1 Million Man. So, all right. Any other collectibles you want to show off?
Oh man.
No pressure.
I got the bind. I got one of my binders right here. Let's see if I got anything else cool in here. Well, I got cool stuff in here.
So now, do you go after a certain decade, or just your favorites, or just anybody you can get your hands on?
I started off going after the guys I like the most, and most of those were era guys. And it's gotten to more current stuff now. I'm collecting more current guys, but I've got a lot of Attitude Era, and I've got a lot of NWA, old school NWA guys. That's what I'm going for now. The more rare stuff, that stuff you don't see quite as often anymore. This is a good one. I just got this one the other day.
Oh, nice. Yep, Ron Simmons. Yep. How would he sign it, Farouk or Ron Simmons there?
Ron Simmons. Simmons. Yep.
I'm not sure if one's worth more than the other. I think I asked you about a Kevin Owens one in the past. Would his autograph still be the same or something? When you did Kevin Steen? Maybe that was just the wrestling group chat. I'm not sure.
Let's see here.
Oh, Britt Baker there.
This was which was a phenomenal match. Did you happen to watch this match?
I did not. I think I've only watched mostly Top Flight and anything Dustin does over there.
All right, so probably the best women's match I've seen in quite some time. I mean, there's a lot of blood, obviously.
Yeah.
But they told a great story. It was a great match. Great match. I got a lot of AEW guys in this binder. Let me see if I find another cool one here. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of buff in here. Oh, here's a good one. I was a big Too Cool fan back in the day. So we got them both. There we go.
There you go. Both. And what's funny is, didn't he train Otis down there too? Scotty 2 Hotty?
Yeah. So,
and I think he took the idea. He calls it the caterpillar, but
yeah. So from Otis has always spoken really, really highly of Scotty. He loved him as a coach. I think they still keep in contact and talk all the time. And yeah, I think they talked about it, and he kind of gave him his blessing to go ahead and use it in the ring. And he didn't have to worry about kind of those unwritten rules, brother, in wrestling where you're stealing my gimmick, that whole thing. So yeah, no, he worked a lot with him, and he really speaks very highly of him.
Perfect. I know he does. He just did a show down south as well. That's where I met Dustin for the second time. It's a 6-hour jaunt. If it was a lot closer, I would definitely be hitting that one a little bit more. But unfortunately, 6 hours is a lot when you have now a partner and have to take care of that responsibility. Who knew a wrestling guy had a girlfriend, right?
That's right. So. I all the time. I tried to hook her. I tried to hook her a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She does enjoy. She enjoys going to the events, and she really, we'll watch it here and there. So it's been pretty cool that she's able to enjoy it with us. Our daughter is a huge fan.
That's good.
She's a huge fan. So she likes the heels too, which is she always likes the bad guy, even in TV shows.
That's how I am. Yep, I'm definitely a bad guy. So
yep.
All righty. Well, in closing, do you want to do some plugs on your memorabilia stuff there, as well as any other social medias you want to give out? Feel free to do that, and then get this closed up here for us.
Forward Mile Autographs. If you're looking for something, reach out to us. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, we're on it. We've got a website too, forwardmile.co. There's a story, kind of a backstory there. Somebody stole the .com before we could register it. So, but yeah, so we're .co. So if you're looking for anything, even any sport, pretty much I can get my hands on it. I've been blessed to have a lot of connections now. I've been doing this for about 5 years, and so any person, any sports personality you're looking for, I can probably get my hands on something for you. So yeah, reach out to us if you're looking. So I've got a couple different handles on Twitter. I'm a man of many hats. I've got my wrestling Twitter, which is at Cato on the mic. A couple people asked me, what the heck is Cato? What does that have to do with it? So that was my wrestling persona. My backyard wrestling persona was the Prophet Nick Cato. That was my name, the Prophet. And I used to come out with $1 million belt. I thought that was the coolest thing.
Gotcha.
Yep. So I was the Prophet Nick Cato. So actually, when I got this gig with DPW, I asked Eric. I said, "Hey, can I be Nick Cato for this? Because I think Nick Olson is just too common, boring.
Yep.
There's probably a million Nick Olsons, right? But Nick Cato, now that's a little something.
And that's kind of what I'm doing right here with my little thing there too. Is granted, I don't mind people knowing my real name, but it just makes me feel like I'm part of the business. Crander Q, aka my real name. That's my little wrestling stick. Otherwise, I was going to go by the Red Ape, hence the big red beard. So
there you go. So that's where it's Cato on the mic on Twitter. And so we decided that Locally here, it would be better if I stick with my name because it was more well known and it would maybe help people figure out who I was, which made sense. So,
Yep.
that's the deal behind the Cato. So at Cato on the mic on Twitter for wrestling stuff, and then it's at NHS Coach O is my personal Twitter, which you're going to get a lot of football and coaching stuff on there. But yeah, I appreciate
a lot
that.
of winning football coaching and golf. Just saying.
That's right.
He runs a winning program. He's a winner, just like Otis. He's doing it on and off the field. He's winning at life, people.
Last couple of years, we've had some really great athletes at Northwestern, and we've done pretty good. So it's been fun.
Perfect. All righty. Well, Nick, I appreciate you being a friend of the Squared Circle. Cheap plug, as I like to call it. We'll have to get you on here definitely again. And then hopefully not as many glitches or hiccups or hangups or people telling us that the building is closed, because obviously I am still here and we are still recording. We ain't going anywhere. But again, thank you for coming on, being a friend of the Squared Circle. And as always, till next time, thanks everybody for watching. Anything you got to say before we go?
I was just going to say, hey, I appreciate coming on. Anytime you let me know, I'd be happy to come. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. All right, we're going to kick you out of here. I'm going to do some shameless plugs and then have a little bit more fun. And again, thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. Have a good one. All right, everybody. Thank you for getting through this episode with us. We had a lot of glitches, a lot of pages, a lot of stumbling over words, but we're still going to post it because, well, why not? Mistakes in life happen. Ask my parents. Definitely. Again, check out Superior Creations on Facebook at facebook.com/Superior Creations MN. Give them a like and a follow. Definitely order yourself a custom tumbler. I've got those two on that mug, as well as your WrestlePalooza champion, Darren Corbin, who is also a sponsor here at Friends of the Squared Circle. And make sure that you comment when we post the YouTube video. Get yourself a little bit of Darren Corbin merchandise. And remember, by commenting Nick's favorite wrestler in the comments, as well as Artisan Tattoo in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, where I get all my tattoos from DJ. His books open back up in August. Give them a like and follow on Facebook at Artisan Tattoo. And remember, tattoos are forever, and so is wrestling. And last but not least, again, I thank these guys every time I come on. The boys over at 13 Cards Subject to Change. I always stumble over that. Happy birthday, Leroy. He hates it. I keep doing it. And as you can see, it's karma coming back to me every time I stumble through it. Jesse and Zach. Apparently I can't plug ads. This whole episode's been full of shenanigans, malfunctions, but here we are. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for being a friend of the Squared Circle. And as always, Crander Q out. Thank you.